And we are back on Powerhouse Sports tonight with one of the best and most iconic coaches in the state of Alabama, Prattville Head Football Coach Bobby Carr. Across the state, every community has a football story they want to tell. Tonight belongs to Prattville, a city rich in tradition, a program built on championships, and a fan base ready for another season of Friday Night Lights. We'd like to welcome everybody to another edition of Powerhouse Sports inside the program. Thank you for spending y'all's Monday night with us as we break down the Prattville Lions heading into the 2026 football season. So if you're watching, whether you're a Prattville fan or somebody else, it don't matter. Like and share, represent your schools, and let everybody know that Prattville Head Football Coach Bobby Carr is on the show. And we are back live with head coach of the Prattville Lions, Bobby Carr. If you are watching, y'all like and share, comment. And if you have some questions for Coach Carr, we'll try our best to put them on the screen so y'all can join in as well. But, Coach, sorry for the technical difficulties. I know Wayne and Stan were trying to get on here, and they might be able to hop on here in a second. But, Coach, kind of tell us your journey in becoming the head football coach of Prattville.
Well, I've been in this area, most people know my entire career, except for a few years. Just spent most of my career in private school, and I thought it was important to, I've had opportunities in the past to do this or that, but just thought it was important to be at school with my son. I got to go to school with my son from the time he was in first grade till the time he graduated, and obviously after that happened a few years later, I wanted to get into the public school realm. I just wanted to make sure it was the right fit, and kind of had to go around the southeast just to get back home. But God's works in mysterious ways sometimes. Sometimes we got to question why this door shuts, and when we're all set and ready to go, in down this hallway, and the door shuts, and I've learned to just not ever question God's timing, and here we are, and the same hometown. I pretty much grew up in this area, Millbrook, Prattville area, my whole life. So it's kind of a cool story.
I mean, Coach, there's been a lot of excitement this offseason, especially around Prattville right now. But what's the energy been like this season compared to your first year at Prattville?
Well, the first year, I just thought it was important for us to, go in and create the standard that we want, build the right culture. And that's a challenge when you get in somewhere. And when you got, I brought in 16 new coaches. 3 guys came from the old staff. So pretty much brought a whole new staff. And it was definitely a challenge. But you could see it turn last year, midway through the year, when we upset Hewitt and got a few breaks in that game, and then you could just see everything. And so we've just kind of taken off with that positive momentum we had at the end of the year, even though we didn't make the playoffs last year. And we've had an incredible spring, incredible summer. So we know what the expectations are at Prattville, and hopefully, Lord willing, we're going to be able to give everybody what they've been waiting for. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if I know there's a lot of teams out there that are good. A lot of teams got tough schedules, but I'd put our schedule against anybody. It's extremely tough, and we're going to just try to take them one at a time.
You mentioned that spring ball is coming to an end. Fall camp's right around the corner. So what is going to be y'all's kind of biggest focus going into fall camp as spring ball just now wrapped up?
Well, football nowadays is a year-round deal, and so we've been really rocking and rolling from the spring through the summer. Our staff's done an incredible job getting our guys prepared. I try to hit the 7-on-7s the first 3 weeks of the summer, and after after that, we're just ready to get into regular football. And so we've done a couple of OTAs with Coach Etheridge over at Auburn, and then we had Wetumpka Robertsdale come up last week. So and that's going to be it for us. We'll do something next week with our guys leading up to first day of fall camp. But our guys are ready, man. And the biggest challenge is, we feel like we've got a really good team, but so does Niceville, and that's what our focus is right now. And Niceville's used to that heat down there, and so it's gonna be a challenge that first game. So we'll see what happens.
And Coach, you talked about your schedule and kind of some games that you've scheduled, and a lot of coaches aren't scared, like you, and in particular, there's a lot of coaches instead of Alabama who schedule these big powerhouse games across state lines to kind of challenge their guys. Is there any games on the schedule that kind of jump out to you? I know it's one game at a time, but is there any game that jump out to you on the schedule this year that you might say, hey, you know what, this game right here, could really either make us better, or it could be to where we can gain some momentum later in the season and make a playoff run?
Yeah, I mean, I've had that question asked, and honestly, you know how tough our region is. Our region, I mean, it's like the old SEC West. I tell everybody, yeah, we feel like we're going to be pretty good, but so is everybody else in our region. And I think we got to stay healthy. We've got a lot of talent, but not very deep in a couple positions. So we got to make sure we stay healthy, and that may change a little bit of how we practice. We kind of know who can do what right now, and so the biggest thing is get the horses to the race and let them run, and that's what we want to focus on, one game at a time. Right now, we know what's ahead of us, but we're just going to focus on Niceville. What is that, 5 weeks away?
And Coach, we kind of spotlighted your quarterback a couple of weeks ago. Tremendous kid. And Wayne was telling me about everything he's been through and kind of what gives him an advantage in the field. But besides him, is there any other players that might jump out this year that fans might not know about, or we as media might not know about as well?
Yeah, I mean, we got a number of kids. We've got 6 kids committed right now, which is big going into their senior year. Got a number of kids with offers, but 6 of them committed. Watson Kidd just committed to Murray State just a few hours ago. So I'm glad. I know he's glad he's got that behind him. Everybody knows about Deshaun Hall and Jaden Aparicio Bailey. Will kind of got on the stage this past season as a sophomore. We felt like it was just time to throw him in the fire and get him ready. Man, he did a good job all year. And Will's not just a good player; he's a good leader for us. He's a good person. A lot of our guys are. Jason Crenshaw transferred in here. He's committed to Georgia Tech. He's done a good job of leading that defense. We got 3 D linemen that are committed. Elijah Brown's committed to Kentucky, and Ricardo Parker's committed to Troy. He and Jaden Millage. So again, like I said, I feel like we've got a lot of talent there. I think the most important thing to say about those guys, though, is they're even better people. And when your best guys are even better people in the locker room, that's when you got a chance to be successful. And those are the type of kids we've got. A number of our guys are straight A students, going to graduate early. So I'm just blessed to be around a great group of coaches and obviously some talent this year. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what kind of coach you are, you better have some talent.
And Coach, I'm going to get in a little soapbox for a second. So people say your team's reflection of coaching. A lot of players take on their coach's personality and obviously say they're good kids, but when they have you as a head coach, a number of others on the staff as well, they turn out that way. And I know Jim Chappelle personally, I've grown to know him the last couple of years. I was able to be around you a few years as well. But talk about some of your assistant coaches on staff that have kind of made you as a better coach, and also this team a better team as well.
Yeah, we got 6 guys that are former head guys on our staff, and the unique thing is there's no egos. At the end of the day, we all want to win, and I think that's most important. So we put the egos aside. We do what's best for the group. A lot of times we go into a meeting and I have an idea, and we walk out of there and we don't go with my idea, and I'm the head coach. That's how much I trust our coaches. So I know things are getting done on every level, from the weight room to the offensive room, the defensive room. They all do a great job.
And heading into 2026, a lot of teams have made a jump from 6 months ago. Some teams, unfortunately, are still trying to fix those things that they couldn't get done 6 months ago. But what would you say that your team has been the biggest jump on, I guess, throughout these last 6 months from winter to spring, now to fall? What have you seen your team kind of excel at the last 6 months?
Just the cohesiveness, embracing each other. Like I mentioned, some of the guys, like with Crenshaw and Deshaun Hall, and some of those guys that are top tier 4-star players, top players in the state and at their position, and they walk in the room, and everybody in the room feels good about who they are because they're in their presence. Uh, I think that's it. Just bringing our guys, the unity with our guys, because a lot of times you see talent, and the talent can only take you so far. But at the end of the day, when they start loving and caring about each other as people, I think that's the most important thing, and that's what I see with our guys.
So, Coach Carr, it's no secret. You're an offensive guru. You have some explosive offenses. You know how to get conservative when you need to. So, going into this season, what can people expect from the Prattville offense in 2026?
Yeah, you know what we like at the end of the day, if you're gonna win a championship, you better be able to run the football and stop the run. And I've been a guy in the past that throw it 30 or 40 times a game, but I'm no dummy, and I think that's our strength is the trenches up front on both sides, offense and defensive side. Our line. The crazy thing is they got to go against probably one of the best defensive fronts in the Southeast in high school, and so iron sharpens iron, and that's what they do every day. They make each other better, and that's where our strength is for sure.
So, Coach, I'm going to ask this question, not trying to dig too deep, and you can kind of be vague if you need to be, but defense wins championships. Now, if it comes down to defense at Prattville, what would the defensive staff need to do or defensive guys need to do in order to bring Prattville a 6A state title?
Yeah, I like I just said, stop the run. I think our box is really good. Our secondary is getting better and better. But I think at the end of the day, any coach would tell you that it's about those guys up front. If you can't stop the run, you don't have a chance. And so that's definitely the focus. But Coach Thorell does a good job. Coach Bush is our D line coach and assistant head coach. Man, I'm just telling you, those guys are coached up over there. So can't say enough about our entire staff.
I know there's a lot of excitement right now around Prattville. I've seen social
Yeah.
media posts. Obviously, I know you've seen it as a coach as well. But, besides wins and losses, a lot of, these days people judge teams off wins and losses. It's the day of age we're in. Nobody cares about, anything else you do. But besides wins and losses, as a coach, what would you like to see your team's identity be? Whether, win a title or you're runner-up or whatever else may happen, what do you want to see your team do to be able to say, what, I did succeed in this part of the football team?
Yeah, I just think everybody's got to figure out what they can do to help the team. Just like every coach has a certain role in the team, everybody on the team, whether it's a scout team guy or a starting quarterback or what it is, just figure out what your role is to help our team. And look, my number one goal is to build better men. One day they're going to take their cleats off, but there's still got to be a man in this world for the rest of their life. And it's tough out there. It doesn't get easier when they graduate. It's tougher, and if they go on and play college ball, it's a business. So again, we're just trying to just pour the right things into our guy that they're guys that they're going to take with them later on in life when they're done playing.
And Coach, you've won multiple state titles at Talk Academy. You've came to the HSA, and now you're having success. So, two-part question here. First part is, how have you seen the game change in the state of Alabama to when you first started to now? What are some of the major changes you have seen within the state of Alabama high school football?
I think history kind of repeats itself. You see, back in the day, this will be my 31st year as a coach, 29th year as a head coach, and back in the day, you saw a lot of two tight ends, wing T, all that, and then everybody's went to the spread and doing all that. But like it's funny, you go out and watch us. We're in a lot of 12 personnel now, so obviously the RPO game and all that stuff is what's changed the most. I think that's the thing about football. You got to stay on top of it because it does change a lot, and you got to stay ahead of the game. And that's why I tell everybody, don't ever think you know it all in this game because there's always a better way to do this or that. So that's the biggest thing to me.
And then, sometimes coaches will say they have to flex through, this generation or this generation. As far as the head coach and your standards, what are some of the standards that you have refused to compromise on when it comes to being the head coach of a football team?
just being a good teammate. At the end of the day, when they get old like me, nobody's going to remember how many touchdowns they scored or yards or how many tackles, how many pancakes, blocks they made, and all that kind of stuff. They're going to remember how you treated them and what kind of person you were in that locker room. And I think that's more important than anything.
And Coach, I had somebody text me this earlier. So away from Prattville, we have to ask your son Trip
Yep.
gets to go to Pike Lib, become a head coach now. One of the youngest guys I think in the state.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he has a lot of pressure, but people see you and him and a lot of things he does. I know he's going to have a tremendous success. But what was that like? Getting that phone call for him saying, "Hey, you know what, Dad? I just became the head coach at Pike Lib."
Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty proud dad moment. He went there to be the offensive coordinator, and the head coach left, and yeah, I had somebody call me asking me if I thought he was old enough, or ready, even though he's young. And I said, of course. He's been watching film since he was in diapers. I can remember holding him, and having the bottle in this hand, and we're running the remote with this hand, watching film. So he's ready, and it's kind of funny. I see him kind of living my life. I started coaching at the age of 24. I was a head coach, way too young at the time to be a head coach, and it worked out for me. But it's a pretty neat deal to see Tripp walk in my shoes and do the things he's doing. I'm proud of him. I know he's got his hands full, and it's going to be a challenge for him, but it's a good opportunity for him to go in there and build it the way he wants to build it. Just like I did at the places I've been in the past.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool when I saw that.
Yeah,
Me and Wayne talked
yeah,
about it for a little while, and he's I think he'll be ready. I know a lot of people are excited to see him and do what he does.
no doubt.
Coach, kind of going back to your experience here, I just want to ask a lot of people. There's always debates on social media, and I just want to ask your opinion. But you've coached in a lot of places against a lot of teams.
Right.
What would you say one of the toughest or two of the toughest environments are to coach in on a Friday night? Whether it's AISA, whether it's HSA, who has some of the tough environments to coach in on a Friday night?
I don't know. Crampton Bowl was certainly exciting when I was at Carver. We had some big games there. We had a big game when I was there when we were at Central and lost with about 20 seconds left in the game. And obviously we had some big games in Stanley Jensen, and you could see with the momentum we were gaining that the more the town got involved, and I think that's huge. And I expect Stanley Jensen to be packed out this year. But there were a number of games. The Hewitt Trustful game was a big game for us last year, upsetting them, and then going on the road and beating Hillcrest. And then, I thought we played Thompson really hard, for 3 quarters. And they just, they had a little too much for us. But I thought our kids gave them everything we could give them. And that's all you can ask for as a coach.
And then, Coach, before we start wrapping this thing up, there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of good guys that are kind of rare to find in the college football profession these days. A lot of them just because of wins and losses. But there's guys like you still out there who care about loving your kids, making sure they know they're cared for. What is one thing that your players will hear from you every single day, no matter what, and they can expect to hear from Coach Carr for that lead practice that day?
Yeah, I tell them every day, let's never be satisfied with their last performance. Let's find something we can get better at every day. That's on the field, off the field, hold each other accountable, make sure you're running with the right people. And I've used some of my shortcomings in my life as examples. And it's just important to be around the right people that are going to make you a better person. So, yeah, they hear that from me an awful lot.
And Coach, a lot of Prattville Nation watching tonight between social media, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. What would be your message to Prattville Nation as the season gets closer?
I know there's a lot of buzz around the town, so I promise you, we're going to give them everything we got, and then hopefully give the city of Prattville something to be proud of this season.
And then 2026 Prattville Lions. I don't know, I asked you kind of your take on it, but what would you want the Prattville community to remember most when the season's done about this 2026 Lions team?
I think that the most important thing to me is that we represent the city and the school the right way. At the end of the day, I would rather lose the right way than win the wrong way. And we're going to do things the right way at Prattville. And we've got a standard, and it starts in our weight room. You see our guys walk in the weight room. Coach Tavares Finley's our strength coach. Our guys have to have their shirts tucked in, no jewelry, anything. We're all dressed alike every single day. And I believe in doing those little things right, because that's going to show up on the field. And they're going to take that stuff with them later on in life when they become men and have to have, families of their own. So That's the most important thing. But I feel like we'll give everybody something to be proud of for sure.
And Coach, before we wrap up here, I hate Wayne and Stan couldn't be on with us tonight. Obviously, technical difficulties we got to try to fix. But a lot of young coaches watching this show, a lot of guys are texting me about this question. But do you have any advice? There's a lot of young coaches these days. Obviously, your son is getting his first head coaching job at a younger age. Would you have any advice for younger guys getting to the profession, maybe being a first-time head coach or anything of that nature? What would be your advice to them about this kind of like a mentor thing or kind of things to watch out for?
Yeah, I think don't ever think you know it all. Uh, find somebody that we all have people in our life that tell us, the things that we want to hear. Not many people tell us what we need to hear, and I think you got to find somebody like that. Like I had a guy, Coach Bucky Mansman. He coached with me for 26 years, and we would meet every Wednesday, and a lot of times he'd tell me things that tick me off, but I know I needed to hear it. And I think that's the most important thing. If you're a young coach, get around somebody that's got some knowledge and somebody that's going to help guide you in the right way.
And Coach, I appreciate your time. I know your time is very, very valuable. I appreciate spending your Monday night with us. As I hate the other two couldn't come on tonight, we'll figure out those issues and hopefully have you back on in the future. Maybe preparing for a run in the playoffs around maybe Thanksgiving. But Coach, appreciate your time tonight. For everybody watching tonight, we appreciate you for taking time in your Monday evening to spend a little bit of time with us and Coach Bobby Carr, the Prattville Lions. And Coach, do you have anything else you want to say before we close it out?
That's it, Andrew. Appreciate you having me on. Hey, I saw you guys are having a baby, man. So congratulations. Enjoy that.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll get up there to Prattville. I know me and Wayne talked about some games that y'all gonna be having that are intriguing, but could see us against Niceville. But like I said, I'm gonna make any promises because obviously, football is gonna be crazy for one reason than one. But I'll come up there and see you sometime soon.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you.
And for everybody watching, thank y'all for joining us tonight for Inside the Program with head football coach of the Prattville Lions, Bobby Carr. Y'all tune in tomorrow night as we'll be joined live and in person next to Alabama with the new head coach, the XL Panthers, Michael Miles. But until then, I'm Andrew Etheridge. That is a Prattville Lion head football coach, Bobby Carr, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night.